What's going on YouTube? Super Insane 18 here, and as promised, today I am bringing you an Adamancipator deck profile. This is the best deck that never did anything because it had the unfortunate reality of coming out towards the very start of the pandemic, but it's actually really good now, which surprised the absolute hell out of me, so let's go ahead and jump on in. So we are going to be playing three of every of the good Adamancipator cards, so 3 Researcher, 3 Seeker, and 3 Analyzer. All of these pretty much have the same effect of just revealing the top 5 cards from your deck, and you can special summon any rock monsters among them that are not tuners. Well, any one of them, not any of them. That would be a little too broken. Then we are playing 1 copy of Dragite. It is the only actual, gemstone of the deck worth playing because it gives you a draw on summon, and it's a water, which is very useful for a card in the extra deck, which we will get to when we show that off. Then we have 2 copies of Doki-Doki. I am seeing a lot of people cut the Doki, which makes no sense to me because it's honestly just a really good extender. Lets you pretty much tutor out anything that you need in your deck. I think it's a little bricky at 3. 2 is definitely the preferred number for me. Then we have 3 copies of Koa'ki Meru Guardian. This is just a really good monster negate, a way to play around hand traps very early. And then 3 Koa'ki Meru Supplier, just another extender because it can special summon itself and it also searches you the Guardian, so works out really well. And then what I think is actually the coolest extender in the deck is actually going to be 3 Prankid Roxys, and the reason this is the coolest extender in the deck is because you can summon it if it's revealed off of any of your Adamancipator effects, and then when you link it away into the Meow that we're playing in the extra deck, you can summon out a copy of Lampsies, and Lampsies gives you the necessary fire in your graveyard that you need for other Adamancipator effects later on down the road, and then when you link this away as well into another card in the extra deck, you get another Roxys. So it's essentially a 3-for-1, it lets you link climb, it loads your grave with things that you need, and honestly, it's just really cool. Then we play our 1 copy of Plague Spreader Zombie. This is the best target for Needle Fiber or Halki Fibrax in this deck, just because it lets you put a card on top of your deck, so you can actually stack a rock from your hand to the top of the deck to then reveal off of an Adamancipator effect. Then we have 3 copies of Parallel Exceed, and then rounding off the monsters, we are playing a small crossout package with 1 Effect Veiler, 2 Ash Blossom, and 1 Nibiru. Onto the spells, we are still playing the 1 of Call by the Grave because we want to make sure we can stop as many hand traps as possible. 3 Adamancipator Signs, which is a monster reborn on steroids for this deck, just because if you are specifically reborning a Adamancipator monster, you can also top deck any rock from your deck, so it just kind of lets you stack your deck so you can always get your Adamancipator effects off. We have our 3 copies of Crossout Designator, and that'll be it for the spells. Finishing things up, we do have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, just a really good interruption for your opponent, as well as a very solid target for the Crossout Designator. Then, onto the extra deck, we are playing a copy of Herald of the Arclight. This is just a relatively good Omni-Negate that you can make if you brick, so that's really all it is. More often than not, you're really not going to make it. If your hand is absolutely cracked, then you can still make this on top of everything else, but more so than anything else, it's just there in case you brick. Then we play 1 of each of the Adamancipator Synchro monsters. Now, this is the reason why we play the Lampsies instead of another Prankid. I know some people are playing the Dropsies specifically for Dragite, but I don't think that's necessary because you're going to have Needle Fiber. You're going to maybe have the water gemstone, so I'd rather play the Lampsies, which allows me to make this, and what this can do is it can also just let me summon like a Koa'ki Meru Guardian from my graveyard during my opponent's turn, adding to the number of interruptions that I have. We are playing 1 copy of Borreload Savage Dragon and 1 copy of Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. The Borreload is part of the main combo and what you are really trying to do. The Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon is really a flex spot. You can make this honestly anything you want, but I figured that against certain decks it would be better to have multiple Omni Negate and a Monster Negate than an Omni Negate and a Spell Trap Negate. So this is just kind of, situational. I really don't make it too much, but it's there if I need it. Our 2 XYZs are going to be Abyss Dweller and Gallant Granite. Abyss Dweller is just a generic catch-all for anything that relies on grave effects, but more often than not, you're going to be making the Gallant Granite just to search another rock type. Then we have a small Prankids engine in Meow-Meow and Dodo. This is just so that we can use the Prankids to link climb, and it's honestly just really cool. You don't play any copies for the Dodo to search, so you are just going to immediately link it away once you make it, but it allows that Lampsies to get you another Roxys on your field. Then we have our 1 copy of Habetler. This is pretty much the bread and butter of the deck, since all of your main Adamancipator monsters are tuners. It lets you just really start going off immediately. We play 1 copy of IP Masquerena and 1 copy of Unicorn. These, again, are things that I don't really make all that much just because the other end boards are better, but they're there if you need them, if you get stopped, or if you have additional resources to make on top of everything else. You can always go for the IP line of play. And finishing things off, we have an Access Code Talker and an Appaloosa. Appaloosa is part of the starting combo just to make sure that you have a good amount of negates on the board, and then the Access Code Talker is there so you can push for game on the next turn. Alright, so because Adamancipator is somewhat luck-based in what you reveal off of your Adamancipator effects, there isn't necessarily just a set-in-stone combo that I can show you guys, so instead of doing that, I'm just going to shuffle up the deck here. I did just power shuffle off screen, and we're going to draw an opening hand, and I'm going to play it out and show you guys how explosive this deck can be. Alright, so we open up with the Adamancipator Seeker, a Signs, a Doki, and a Crossout. This is actually really cool. The only thing that will be unfortunate is if they affect Valorous because we opened it, but not that big of a deal. What we're actually going to do here is we're going to normal summon the Doki and use its effect sending the Seeker. This will allow us to summon a copy of Researcher from our deck. Now, what we can do here, since we have the signs, we can guarantee that we're going to top deck something cool. So we can use the signs here, bring back the Seeker. This will allow us to then top deck any rock monster, and so that we can play around additional threats, we're going to go ahead and top deck the Koa'ki Meru Guardian. Here we'll activate the Researcher effect, revealing the Guardian. We did get a Roxy's, which is kind of cool. Okay, so we have 3 options here. Now, because we have the Crossout, I think we can actually leave the Guardian. Getting the Roxy's is probably the best option here, just because it will let us extend further. So we'll go ahead and summon that out. We will put the rest at the bottom of the deck. The order does not matter. And then here we can link away the Roxy's. We will summon out our copy of Meow-Meow-Mu. Activating the Roxy's effect, we'll just go ahead, banish the Veiler, and draw one. And then we can summon out our copy of Lamses. Now we'll take the Meow and the Lamses, and we will just link those away into a copy of Dodo-Doodle-Doo. And that will let us get the effect of Lamses, burning our opponent for 500 and summoning another copy of Roxy's. Next, what we can do is we can take the Researcher that we used and the Roxy's that we have. We can synchro summon those off into a copy of Raptite. And now, let's not forget that we have the Seeker effect. We can go ahead and use the Seeker. And let's go ahead and summon out the Koa'ki Meru Guardian, just so that if we do happen to be able to leave it, we have an additional negate on our field. And then we can use the copy of Raptite to do the exact same thing. And we get the Dragtite on the last card, which is really cool. So now we put them at the bottom of the deck, and the effect of Dragtite will activate, letting us summon, or letting us draw 1 card. And we draw the Researcher. So we still technically can summon the Researcher if we want to, if we need another tuner on the field. Otherwise, we can hold it for our next turn. But now what we can do is we can take the Seeker and the Dragite, and we can make a copy of Habetler. Here, we'll use the effect of Habetler, summon out our copy of Plague Spreader. And then we can use the Plague Spreader, or, well, before we do that, actually, let's go ahead and take the Habetler and the Dodo, because we do need to put the Habetler in our graveyard, and summon out a copy of Appaloosa. Now, the Appaloosa will have 2 negates, but that's fine, because we are going to have a ton more negates on our field. Now we'll take the Plague Spreader and the Raptite. We will synchro both of those into a copy of Borreload, and now we'll use the effect of Borreload, and we will actually target the Dodo. Not only will it give us more attack overall, but it will also leave the Halqifibrax in graveyard, which is going to be important for the combo. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and special summon out our Researcher, and we can synchro both of those into a copy of Herald of the Arclight, and that's actually going to be it's not going to be our turn. I lied to you guys. Next, we are going to use the effect of Plague Spreader, top deck the Koa'ki Meru Guardian that we have, to summon it back out from the graveyard. And then here we can link both of these, otherwise the Guardian would have been destroyed, into a copy of Leonite. And what this will do now is we can set our crossout designator, and on our opponent's turn we can use the effect of the Leonite to summon out the Guardian from our graveyard. So that gives us a total of 2, 3, 4, 5 negates for our opponent to have to handle. Plus we have crossout if they're doing anything like a mirror match, or if they try to imperm us, we can cross out the imperm to save the Appaloosa without having to negate it with either of these. And overall it just is a really just explosive deck. And there you guys have it. That is my Adamancipator deck profile. I'm actually going to throw a couple of pictures up on the screen of other boards that I have made with this deck, just to show you how different it can be depending on what you reveal and what you draw. But I definitely think that this deck is a phenomenal contender for fighting the current meta. If you liked it, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and if you want to see the side deck for this deck profile, maybe consider backing me on Patreon. It will be posted there for any of my tiers. The lowest is just $1, and it would support the channel immensely. Words cannot describe how much I would appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.